Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Zevachim. Chav Beis, we begin on Chav Aleph, Amud Beis, towards the bottom, 5 lines off the bottom. Gufa, let's go back and review Amar Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina. You meant to know that the kiyur needs to have a minimum amount of water within it in order to be used for washing the kohen's hands and feet. Kol kiyur, any kiyur, she'ein bo k'dei l'kalish, which has not enough water in it to serve 4 kohanim, arba kohanim imenu, isn't enough water to rinse 4 kohanim, ein mekachin boy. You cannot use that water until you fill it up to the required amount. Shenemar, we have a pasuk describing 4 people using the kiyur. Who washes from the kiyur, Moshe, that's 1. Va'aron is 2. Ubanav, plural means another 2, for a total of 4. Meisve, here comes a kasha. You need that much water? Kol hakelim mekachin. You're meant to know that any sort of kli sharis, holy vessel in the mikdash, can be used for kiddush yadayim raglayim, ben sheyesh behen revius, whether it has the capacity to hold a revius halog, which is about 3-4 ounces, ben she'ein behen revius, even if it has less than that capacity, even if it has less than that water, ubilvad sheyu klei sharis, provided that the kli is a kli sharis. And Rashi points out that although regarding washing your hands for a meal until yadayim, you need at least a revius to start off with. Here, if the kli contains even less than a revius, because Rashi says legabi kiddush, regarding kiddush yadayim raglayim, there's no minimum requirement. Lo bein in shiura, and that's a kasha on what we just said, that you need at least enough water for 4 kohanim. Amrav adabar acha. We're speaking in a unique circumstance. He bore out a hole, he carved out the wall of the kiyur. The kiyur contains lots of water. And he sort of carved out a hole in the wall, and he stuck in his special, he'd like to use his special kli for his washing. And that mini container drew water out of the kiyur. Okay? So basically it's sort of like a funnel through which the kiyur water flows out. And the chiddush here is, even though that mini container doesn't contain enough water for 4 kohanim, but since it's drawing from the kiyur, which does, that's okay. However, if in fact it's a standalone container, it's only a couple of ounces, that doesn't work. Says the Gemara, back to the Brisa, that any kli sharis is suitable for kiddush. V'hamimenu amar rachmana. The pasuk specifies mimenu, from the kiyur, not any kli sharis. The answer is yirchatzu. Rashi says it's an extra word. It already says v'rachzu menu. They meant to rinse from the water. Why the word yirchatzu again? The rabbis kli sharis to include any sort of kli sharis. If that's the case, then add any container, even a madain, unholy container. No, you can't say that. You can't add ordinary containers based on a kal v'chaymer. Mi kal v'chaymer. You know, the kiyur had a base upon which it sat, called kan, the kanoi, the base. And Taisus points out, apparently, we see from this Gemara that the kan also had potential to contain, it was hollowed out, it could contain water in it. And as the Gemara will now prove, the kan, right, kanoi, the kan of the kiyur, was not really suitable for kiddush. Certainly, a regular kli, a container brought from your house. Mikal v'chaymer, mikane, from the kan. Umakane, since the kan, despite the fact that it was holy, shenimshach imoy, it was nimshach, it was anointed with that shemen hamishcha, just like the kiyur itself. So it was sanctified in that sense, right? Shenimshach imoy, still einay mekadosh. You can't use it for kiddush. How do we know? We'll see in a minute. Certainly a kli chayil, an ordinary kli from your house, which was not anointed with the kiyur, in addition, certainly would you agree that it cannot be used for kiddush? And in fact, the kanoi, how do we know minolan that you can't use the kanoi? The sanir b'daimer. Perhaps one can use the kan for kiddush yadayim raglayim kederech she'akir mekadosh, just as the water of the kir can accomplish that. Talmud Loimar, no. The pasuk says the only comparison between the kir and its kanoi is in terms of the material with which it's made, copper. But otherwise, there's no connection. V'asisa kir nechoshes, v'kanoi nechoshes. So the pasuk here is stressing, by repeating the word nechoshes once for the kir, once for the kanoi, to tell you only with respect to that element they are on the same page. The nechoshes regarding the copper material from which they are made, hikashte, I've connected them, but not regarding their ability and their functionality. Hence, only the kir can be used and not the kanoi. How could you compare a container to the kanoi? Perhaps kanoi is worse off. It's not meant to contain, although it's a bit hollow inside, but it's not really meant to contain. As opposed to a kli that you bring from your house, a container, it's meant to contain, so perhaps since it has that function, it's designated for that, it can be used as well for kiddush. Ella rather mimenu. We have a miyut. An exclusion. Mimenu. Only the kir is suitable, as opposed to a kli. Well, if you're going to exclude, then exclude any kli other than the kir. How can we allow other kli sharas to be used? If that's the case, kli sharas nami. The answer is, we have a riboy to include those. Harabi Rachman Yerchatzu. The Torah added and expanded by adding the word Yerchatzu, which we mentioned earlier, to include kli sharas other than the kir. So basically, we have one word which is exclusionary, menu, and another word which is inclusionary, which is Yerchatzu. So who's to say which one to include, which one to exclude? Umarois. Who's to say which way to go? Answers the Gemara, it's a svara, it's logic. Zeton meshicha kamayu, because a kli sharis requires meshicha like the kir. So in a way it's similar. As opposed to vizeh, your kli from your house, your private kli, enton meshicha kamayu requires not meshicha like the kir. So since it doesn't have that sanctity, we assume we have a choice between one or the other. We prefer the kli shares and allow that to be used for kiddush, but not kli chayil. Okay, so in conclusion, just as a kir can be used for kiddush, likewise any kli shares, but not the kanoi nor a kli chayil. Regarding the minimum amount of water required in the kir, we need enough to wash 4 kaihanim. We did have an interesting case where he connected a small kli to the kir. Since it's drawing from the kir source, which has enough water in it, it qualifies as well. Amr Shlokish. Speaking about the kir, speaking about revius, interesting halacha. Kol ha-mashlam l'mei mikveh. If you look at Maseches Mikvahs, Rashi brings it, he says, Yesh malin, v'lei poislin. There are certain materials, such as snow. You can use them to complete your mikveh, right? If you're missing some, you can be mashlim with that snow. In fact, in places where they can't really access rainwater, so they bring, they can bring shipments of ice, of snow, to fill their mikveh. So any material that can be used to fill the mikveh, so the required, amount of 40 sa'ah, let's call it, 40 gallons, just for simplicity's sake, right? So that's the minimum requirement for the mikveh. You can fill it with snow, with ice, right? Mashlim l'meikir, likewise. These materials can be also used to top up the kir to its, to meet the minimum requirement of water for the 4 kaihanim discussed earlier. However, l'revius einoi mashlim. Regarding the revius amount for netilas yadayim, since it's a smaller amount to begin with, you can't use these mashkim to fill the revius. So if you're missing some water in the revius, you can't fill it with these materials. Now, apparently we're not speaking about snow or etc., because you can actually fill the entire revius with snow. So what are we coming to exclude? What did Rish Lakish mean when he said certain things cannot be used to fill up the revius? Was he coming to exclude tit, like a mud, but a very soluble, watery mud, noduk, that can be poured from one kli to the other? So it resembles water, it's close enough to water, in which case you can top up your mikveh with that if you need your mekir as well, but not your revius. Now, what type of mud are we speaking about? Either para sheicha. If it's watery enough that the cow, when it notices that puddle, water, it crouches down, it bends down to show you something. When drinks from this mud/water, then afilu l'revius nami. And then it can be used even to fill your revius. We have a Mishnah Maseches Yadayim, any water from which an animal drinks, that gives it a stamp of water. It's considered halachically mayim, and you can use a whole cup of it for netilas yadayim. What's the problem? V'ein para shoicha v'shoysa mimenu. But if the cow would hesitate, would not drink from this, apparently in his mind it's not water. Afilu mikvah nami in mashlim, so it can be used even to fill a mikvah. So which material are you speaking about? That is kosher for a mikvah, kosher for the kiyar, but not for netilas yadayim. Apparently he's coming to exclude these red flies, these water fleas, water mosquitoes. Since they were created from the water, so they have a halach status of water. They're water material. Well, it says the mafilu beinayu nami. If that's what we're talking about, then even if you have a full mikveh just of these fleas, you can immerse yourself in it. Why are we speaking about topping up the mikveh, filling the mikveh? Filling it be mashlim, the missing amount. Even if you have a full mikveh made just from this material, it's okay. Furthermore, matbilin. Sorry, the Tanya we learned in a brayso. Anything which was created from water, which came from water, you can be toil in it completely. I'll give you another unusual example of this halacha. Madbilin be'inishal dag, you could be matbul, and the dissolved eye of a whale, of a fish, since it came from water. So what's going on? What did Rish Lakish mean when he said there are some materials that can be used to complete the filling of the mikveh, complete the filling of the kiyar, but not by the revius? We're speaking about these water materials. Even 100% of it would be okay for the mikveh, even if the mikveh is totally filled with these. We're speaking about mud. Well, if it's watery, then it's fine. What's going on? Amar Papa, let me explain to you what he means. There is one instance, or at least one, of liquid which isn't really technically water. For instance, fruit juice. It's not really water. But if there isn't too much of it in the mikveh, it can sort of become nullified into the mikveh. It's batal, provided that you do it the right way, as we'll see in a minute. You start off with a full mikveh of 40, let's call it 40 gallons of water. Then you pour in a gallon of orange juice. Then you pull out a gallon of, I guess, mostly water. It's useful when he wants to, let's say, fill another mikveh. So he basically only has 40 gallons, and he pours in a gallon of orange juice, pulls out a gallon of water. Pours in another gallon of orange juice, another gallon of water he takes out. So this way he makes an exchange. But that only works until the majority, meaning he can't go past roiv. He has to stop at 49 point whatever. And at that point, the orange juice poured into this mikveh is still batal. And that only works by a mikveh, which is a large quantity to begin with. So you can be mevatel. But it doesn't work. It works by the kiyar as well, but not by the revius. You have just a little cup. for Netilas Yadayim, you're going to stop playing around, throwing in an ounce of juice. It's not going to work. Amar Papa Lamute, we're excluding Nasan Sa'ah. He poured in a Sa'ah, a gallon of juice, V'natal Sa'ah, and then took out a gallon of water, which works by the mikveh, but not by Netilas Yadayim, which is merely a revius to start off. Snan, as we have in the Mishnah, mikveh she'esh b'hem samach chavanis. You have a mikveh which is filled perfectly, exactly 40 Sa'ah of water. And then Nasan Sa'ah, he poured in a Sa'ah of juice. Since the mikveh had already been totally filled, it's okay, it's not going to be invalidated by the juice. Because once the mikveh has the required amount of 40 Sa'ah, it's sort of like immune and protected from any, So now when he pours in the juice, we're still okay, v'not also, and then he pulls out a Sa'ah of mostly water. How is a kosher? The mikveh remains kosher. Until what point? How many times can he do this exchange? Adrubai, as we explained, until the majority point. So he has to leave a majority of water, pure water in there. And this halacha pertains strictly to a mikveh, to the kiyar, but not to the revius for washing your hands. As we explained, to start off with a smaller amount. It doesn't allow for mixing and exchanges. Amra Papa. Although we speak about a revius, not qualifying for this process, but if you have a large mikveh to begin with, which was kosher, and then he did this sort of exchange process, and then imkadach by revius, he carved out a little pocket. Rashi says b'doifin on the wall of the mikveh, and the water sort of rolls in there. What's the point? The point is to have a little mini mikveh near the grand mikveh to be used for small utensils, for needles, for pins, to be tevel them. So although it's a revius in total, but in this case it's okay because he's annexed, he's part of the big mikveh. He's a branch of the big mikveh. Matbilim by machten. That scenarios, it can be used to immerse needles, tweezers. Why? Even though there's orange juice in there, because it didn't start off there. It came from the big mikveh, which was okay. Since it came from a proper mikveh. And as we explained, the large mikveh per se allows for this exchange system. Likewise, the water that now flows from the large mikveh to the small mini mikveh on the side is still okay, even though it's merely revius. Okay, so in conclusion, Rosh Lakish tells us that this orange juice exchange system only works by a mikveh, only works by the kiyar, but not by the revius for Netilas Yadayim. Back to the mikveh, may mikveh ksherin, the make kiyar. You should know that you can use regular mikveh water and fill the kiyar with it for kiddush Yadayim Raglayim. So that's another lacha of Rish Lakish regarding a kiyar. Really, the member, do you mean to say the lai maim chaim ninu? The kiyar did not require fresh spring water. You can use just a plain stagnant water. Vatani, we have a brayso regarding rinsing the parts of the carbon. The pasuk says, he would wash the legs, the parts of the animals. The word b'mayim tells you water. You can't use wine. B'mayim, the word b'mayim tells you can't use even diluted wine with water. It has to be purely water. From the word b'mayim, we also learn you can use any water. Rashi says even contained water. It need not be fresh, running spring water. The Kalvachomer says the Bryce, and certainly the Meikir. The water of the kir is suitable. Now, what's special about the Meikir, which is deserving of a Kalvachomer? Certainly the Meikir. What's special about the Meikir? My Kalvachomer. Meikir, what do you mean? Kalvachomer, certainly the Meikir. Apparently, because they're not higher. They're better than your regular water container. Why? Because it's coming from the fresh Mayim Chaim. Lav the Mayim Chaim Ninus. You see, Kir water was drawn from the from Mayim Chaim. Loi the Kaddish. No, perhaps it wasn't. What's unique about Kir water? Because it was holy. And that's why certainly it can be used for the rinsing of the karbonis. Really, says the Gemara, that's an advantage? V'kadishim al yusahi, really, being holy is an advantage in this case? When the pasuk says b'mayim, it means plain water. No special water with special titles, like kir water. But Tana very small. We have a brisa from Tvei Shmuel. That when it says mayim, it means she'ein lehem shem lavai. It means water without any added titles. Water is water, pure water. Rabbi Elska, that's how I used to say livui. I used to read it livui, like lavoya, to accompany. There's no accompanying titles. Yatsu, as opposed to the mikvah water, kir water, sheyesh lam shem livui. It has that extra title. It's holy water, it's kir water. So if anything, it puts it at a disadvantage. El lav deruin meikir. You're right. Apparently, the Brisa says certainly kir water can work. Doesn't mean actual kir water. If anything, that would be worse because it has the extra title. But to speak about the type of water which is suitable for the kir, alma ma'im chaim nino. Apparently, they're fresh. It's fresh spring water. And that's why it has an advantage. That's what the Brisa meant. Certainly, fresh spring water, which i.e. is suitable for the kir. This is in contrast to Rish Lakish, who says Mayim Chaim is not necessary for the kir. Tanoi, you're right, there's machlekes Tanoi in this regard. Rabbi Yochanan meikir. What type of water was in the kir? There's a machlekes Tanoi. Rabbi Shmuel Eimer meimayne, spring water only. Cham Eimrim Sha'ar meimasein, any water qualifies. Orel, Mishnah says a kohen without a bris milah, even if he's medically prevented from doing a bris milah, hemophiliac family, he cannot do the avodah, and if he does, his carbon becomes pasal, mechulal, menol. How do we know this halacha? Amar Chizda. The truth is, we don't really find it in the Chumash. Davar zeh, this halacha, miteras Moshe Rabbeinu lo lamad. We haven't learned it from Moshe Rabbeinu's Torah, meaning in the Chumash. However, Medivrei Yecheskel, from the words of Yecheskel the prophet, Ben Buzi lamad, we learned it from his psukim in Yecheskel, where it says like this: two individuals should not get close to my karbonos, to my migdash. So he's quoting Hashem, Koyamar Hashem Alekim, Kol ben Neichar, any estranged member of the Jewish nation, Orel Leiv, has a stuffed, closed-up heart, he deviated from the ways of Hashem, Varel Basar, or he hadn't done a bris milah. Both these individuals, Lo Yavai, Al Migdashi, they should not approach my Migdash to serve me. So we see, lacking a bris, this allows Avodah. Uminol de Machli Avodah, how do we know? They disqualify the Avodah if they should do it. T'chsiv. The pasuk continues. It's over there in pasuk Zayin actually. Baviyachem b'nei Neichar, Arle Leiv, Arle Basar, bring in all these individuals, Lias b'Migdashi, Lechalel. So you see they're Mechalel, as Basi. Disqualify the avodah. Tanu Rabbanan. So the pasuk speaks about a ben neichar. Who is a ben neichar? Perhaps it means a nachri, a stranger, a guy. Yachal ben neichar mamash, literally a guy. Talmud Leiv no, or a leiv. The pasuk continues, describes him. One with a closed heart. Fellow was not open to spirituality. Apparently, we're speaking about a yid who's off the program. And came out Talmud Leiv ben neichar. So why did the pasuk describe him as such? His ways have become estranged and distant from Hashem. Perhaps only this individual is disqualified. What about a fellow without a bris? And Rashi explains, he's an oral basar, unfortunately, due to no fault of his own. Rashi says, V'u tzaddik. He's a tzaddik. He's a hemophiliac. He can't do the bris. How do we know? He may not do the avodah. Oral basar minayta malayma, oral basar. He's added to the list as well. And there's a need to discuss both individuals. The fellow who is spiritually inhibited and the fellow who is physically inhibited. If we only discuss the oral basar, I would say mishum demois, because it's disgusting. He has a arla. That's why he's out. Aval or Alev, but the first fellow, who's merely has a commitment issue, he doesn't have this particular mo'us factor to him. Emily, perhaps he's not as bad. It doesn't share the same halacha. V'yashmin or Alev, on the other hand, we've only discussed or Alev, because his heart is not aligned with Hashem. And that's why it doesn't belong there. Aval or Basar, but the fellow who's unfortunately not able to do the bris, his heart is fully lined up with Hashem. Perhaps he is not disqualified. That's why the pasuk covers both of them. Whether he's Ar Leib or Basar, he's pasul for avoid. Tamei pasul. Next on the list is a Kain, who's impure. He touched something, a mace or a sheretz, as we're going to see. If he does the avodah, it's pasul. Amru ziknei darim. So the elders from the south of Eretz Yisrael, Rashi and Erevin brings, Ziknei Darim were chachamim ma'od. So they introduced a very interesting concept, a big chiddush regarding the halacha of the Kayin Tamei. Amru Ziknei Darim. L'Shana, when do we say that a Kayin who's Tamei, who processed a private person's carbon? You see, before we begin, we're meant to know that there's a din of tumah b'tzibur. So if a public carbon must be brought in a state of tumah, suppose the tzibur, Klal Yisrael community is tamei, kohanim are tamei, you can process that carbon even in a state of tumah. The tzibur, the public factor, overrides the tumah concern, but not by an individual's carbon, a private carbon, a carbon yachad. That's different. That cannot be processed with tumah. So when the Mishnah says that a kain who's tamei may not do the carbon, we're speaking about a carbon yachid, say ziknei darim, you should know l'shon, that's only true ela tamei sheretz. If the kain touched a dead lizard, dead creature, there are different types of tumas, right? So tamei sheretz would disqualify him. Avot tamei meis, but let's say he touched a dead person, he was involved in a funeral. Mitoich shemeratza b'tzibur, since if it were a public carbon, it would work. According to some shittas, even l'chatchila, tumah hutra b'tzibur. In a public setting, tumah is done away with. It's a non-factor. So since we have that leniency, that leeway regarding tumas meis, and this is specifically to tumas meis, tzibur became tumas meis, so the kehanim, they can process their carbon, the carbon tamid, etc. It doesn't apply to tumas sheretz. Now that's the halacha, which is discussed in great length in Mesachas Pesachim. So this allowance is only for tumas meis. Therefore, say ziknei darim, since by tumas meis, that type of variety of tumah, we find an allowance for that. Tzibur likewise. Let's carry that somewhat over to a carbon yachid as well. If the kain was tamei tumas meis and he processed a private carbon, shouldn't be doing it, but if it does, it works. Since it works, it's acceptable if it's in a public setting. Likewise, even in a private setting, on a private carbon, if it was done, it's okay. Says the Gemara. Well, we can also build up a logical structure to shake up some accepted notions. Meaning, we're working with the notion that tzibur is only allowed to do their carbon if the issue is Tmei Meis, but not Tmei Sheretz. Why not? Tmei Sheretz Nami. Even an issue of Tmei Sheretz should be overridden if it's a public carbon. Why? Laisi b'kal v'chaim, based on Kal v'chaim Tmei Meis, from Tmei Meis, as the basis. So the starting point is Ma Tmei Meis. Since even the more severe variety of Tumah, which is Tmei Meis, which is a 7-day affair, requires sprinkle of the paraduma on the 3rd and 7th day, right? Shato and Hazah needs to be sprinkled on the 3rd and the 7th day, Shlishi b'Shvi. So despite its severity, Me'eratz is done away with in terms of a public carbon. Wouldn't you agree that if it's just a Tmei Sheretz, it's an issue of a Sheretz, She'enetan Hazah Gimel B'Shvi, which does not require the application of the paraduma waters in the 3rd and the 7th. It's a small time event. It's not a serious affair. It's a one-day tumah, right? If one touches the sheretz today, he immerses, he waits for nightfall, and he's done. To begin with, it's a smaller affair. Ein Edin Shemiratze, wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't you agree that it lends to reason that their carbon should be accepted, even in this type of situation? You can process the carbon tzibur, even when there's a tumas sheretz on the table. So why do we always say that the tzibur can only bring their carbon if they're involved in tumas meis? Why not tumas sheretz as well? The answer is like this: because sabri ziknei darim hold. We have to compare mechaprin, the ones who do the kapara, the kohanim, ki meskaprin, to the ones who receive, the ones on the beneficiary end of the kapara, the owners, meaning. So we connect the owners to the kohanim. Ma miskaprin, just like the owners, the public, tmei meis in tmei sheretz loy, the heter of bringing their carbon in a state of tumah is limited to tmei meis, not to tmei sheretz. So if the tzibur is tamei tmei meis, that allows the kohanim to bring the carbon even in a tumah setting. But if the tzibur was merely tmei meis, there's no allowance to bring the carbon b'tumah. They have to process it properly. There's no leeway there, as we're going to see later. Likewise, regarding the kohanim, af mechaprin. So if the kohanim are tamei meisin, they can only process the public carbon when they are tmei meis. But tmei sheretz loy, if the kohanim are tmei sheretz, it doesn't allow for it. Okay, so bottom line is, the heter of tumah b'tzibur is limited to tmei meis. There's no allowance for tmei sheretz. Says the Gemara, Michael Savri, what is the opinion of ziknei darim regarding sending it a carbon pesach, ikos savri? If they hold ein sheichten v'zorek and al tmei sheretz, let's say a person touched the sheretz, it's erev Pesach, he's certainly going to address it. He's going to go to the mikveh, wait for sundown tonight. He'll join the seder and eat his carbon pesach. But at this state right now, at this stage, during the day when he's still tummy, can somebody shecht the carbon pesach on his behalf? If we hold that you can't do that because he's not really suitable at this moment for partaking in the carbon pesach. If that's so, amayli avdei tzibur b'tumah. So we know that a tzibur is allowed where a yachid is not allowed. That's the pasuk. The pasuk says an individual has issues with tumah, he has to wait till the second try, the second chance, pesach sheni. But a tzibur, a public, they don't need to wait. They bring it even when they're tummy. So if in this type of situation of tmei sheretz, as an individual, right, if it's just him tummy, you can't send in the carbon. So certainly if the tzibur was involved in that same situation, they can send in the carbon. That's the halacha. The tzibur, the public, overrides these concerns, right? We all know that's the formula. Kol shabi yachid. Any situation where if it only involves an individual nidcha, it would force them to wait till pesach sheni. But if it's the public entangled in that same situation, tzibur avdi b'tumah, they can process their carbon even in a tumah state. So why do we say that if the owners are tmei sheretz, you can't send in their carbon? Elo kasavri. Apparently they hold sheichten v'zorken al tmei sheretz. If a private individual was tummy through a sheretz on erev Pesach, he can still stand in his carbon, no problem. He'll be okay tonight. He'll join the carbon Pesach. Likewise, if the tzibur and the general public was involved in a similar situation, there's no reason to bring the carbon in a state of tumah. Let them just send it in safely, remote control from a distance, and process it properly. And tonight they'll join the seder. So we don't find any allowance for tmei sheretz, even in a carbon tzibur. Whether the owners are tummy, there's no reason to do away with tumah issues. Just send it in remotely. Don't get a tummy. And therefore the kohanim must abide as well. They're compared to the owners, which means to say there's no allowance for them to process the carbon betuma if they are tamei sheretz. Hence, we conclude that regarding tamei sheretz, we don't find that the public, interest, so to speak, overrides tumas sheretz concerns. The only thing we do find is tumas meis. Because in that case, it's the middle of your 7 days. There's no way to be tar. So whether the public is tummy or the kehanim are tummy, you can process the carbon in that type of state of tumah. And likewise, sezik nadarim, by extension, even regarding carbon yachad, that's their chiddush. If the kayan processed the private carbon, even though he was tummy, but he was tummy mace, since we find leniencies by tummy mace regarding tzibur, we don't find it by sheretz, we find it regarding tummy mace. Likewise, sezik nadarim, if he should process a private carbon while he's tummy, while the kayan is tummy mace, the carbon passes. Okay, so we'll pick it up tomorrow. But in conclusion, zik nadarim had an interesting chiddush. Just as we find regarding a public carbon, there are allowances for tumas meis, whether the owners are tummy, whether the kehanim are tummy. So you see that the kehanim can process a carbon tzibur, despite the tumas meis issues. So just as over there, if a kohen is tumei meis, carbon is kosher. Likewise, even by carbon yachid, he shouldn't be doing it, but if he does it, the carbon is kosher. But again, this is only limited to tumas meis, but not tumas sheretz, despite the fact tumas sheretz is lighter and lesser than tumas meis. But since we don't find exceptions regarding tumas sheretz, likewise, a kohen is tumas sheretz, and he processed a private carbon, the carbon in fact is possible. Okay, we also learned about the kiyur is to have enough water to supply for kohanim. We learned that the kiyur, although that's the ideal, but you can use any kli shareis, not a kli chayil, and not the kanoi of the kiyur as well. Some materials can be used to fill a mikvah, but not for the shear of revius. And machlokes, whether the mikvah water was ma'im chaim or even ordinary water as well. We learned about Arel Leiv, Arel Basar should not be involved in bringing in karbonis. All the best to you and Atzlach.